as I watched Django Unchained, I thought, man, Tarantino has done a brilliant job of getting me and the audience engaged in this story that is both incredibly sensitive and haunting, and at the same time he's made it funny. And then you get into a question of what is appropriate and not appropriate to laugh at, and at the same time, does he do a decent job of bringing about a conversation on slavery and the horrors of slavery? And I come away thinking that he absolutely made an amazing movie that is going to spark that conversation. And to me, the fact that it was, you know, absurd as spaghetti westerns are, and, you know, the over-the-top violence and the humor, etc., added to the movie, because to me it's symbolized in one of the scenes where the Klan is riding over the hill and they got the mask on and you see him, and it's so scary in the beginning. Like, these guys, this is what they would do to any black guy who escaped or talked back to them, or whatever it might have been. I mean, they rode out in full force to kill you, lynch you, etc. And at the same time, then he has this funny scene with those same guys that they can't see through the mask, etc. And then the fact that he made them more human with that humorous scene, I thought in some ways made them more vicious, because then you're like, oh, this is not a cartoon, right? These are real guys, and they did this thing and they cut out the eyes wrong, etc. But they meant to go rip a black guy to shreds, and his, you know, friend, white friend who, you know, made the mistake of being an end lover, as of course they loved to say back in the day. Right?
It's yeah, you know, it's when you humanize the enemy, I think it becomes much more powerful. One of the problems with some, you know, old movies featuring Nazis, and even Hogan's Heroes, which also used humor, but it would belittle them. Like, there was nothing real about, you know, Sergeant Schultz, you know, or Werner Klempner's character. Why can't I remember the Colonel's name in Hogan's Heroes? That's crazy.
Klink?
Colonel Klink, thank you, Jesus. Yeah, so Colonel Klink and Sergeant Schultz they were jokes. But these guys, their stupidity is identifiable and real. Like, that could have been a conversation when the Klansmen are concerned. What were they called? The Regulators, right?
Oh boy, really?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't know what they were called.
Yeah. That was the early name. They're worried about the sheets, and they have a big conversation, a wonderful conversation, about how one guy's wife cut out all the sheets, but she didn't cut the eye holes big enough, and they can't see when they're riding because the mask moves, and the other guy storms off because he's unappreciative. I didn't see your wife doing anything, you know? Like, and then you're like, oh, this is a lame, idiot guy conversation. And it just happens to be with Klansmen, and then it resonates more.
The second scene that really struck me is when the slaves on the plantation in Mississippi were getting dinner ready, and you see them setting the table. And it, you know, they got this delicate china, and they're putting out all the things, and it looks beautiful, etc. And you think, just to have that dinner, they're willing to destroy all these lives and subjugate these people to the most grotesque violations of humanity, etc., just so they could eat on their pretty goddamn china and have them set it. And to me, I was really struck by the movie. And, you know, I thought, I'm not sure we have enough movies about slavery. I mean, obviously this was a fascinating take on it that was both, you know, some parts obviously tongue-in-cheek, absurd, as I said, and other parts really were a gut punch.
Well, let's get a couple of the criticisms of it. One, Spike Lee's criticism of it, that it sort of marginalized slavery, that it's not something to laugh at. And Spike Lee, interestingly, hasn't seen it, but saw fit to rip it anyway, which it seems like he should see it and then feel free to criticize it all he wants.
So I think that some people are uncomfortable at laughing at parts of this movie, and I get that. But if you say that it somehow lightened slavery, no, I think it delivered the brutality and the hideousness of slavery to a much larger audience and did it much more effectively than many other movies.
Yeah, I think it was very effective. And in fact, there's this interesting piece in Gawker that prompted this conversation by a guy named Cord Jefferson, where the title is The Django Moment, or When Should White People Laugh in Django Unchained. And he talks about a scene toward the end of the movie, in the last act of the movie, when Tarantino, who shows up in a cameo in the movie, extended cameo, plays a slaver, and he throws a stick of dynamite, not lit, but in a threatening manner, into sort of a cage where a couple of slaves are. And like, I guess somebody in that audience laughed at that moment. And he said that made him, he'd shared laughter with white people throughout the movie, and then that made him really incredibly uncomfortable that they thought that was funny. I tend to agree with him only because I don't think you were supposed to laugh at that moment. Mm-hmm. But I'm sympathetic to the guy who maybe didn't know that you were supposed to laugh. You might have got it wrong.
Yeah, you can't go into a movie and think like, wait, what are the parts that are PC to laugh at and not laugh at? Man, the guy gets nerve-wracking. And to his credit, the guy who wrote this, he says, look, I laughed at the part where he blew away a defenseless white lady. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I don't know that's appropriate to laugh at, but I laughed at it, right? Because it was over the top, etc. But the fact that it's sparking these conversations is another win for the movie. I mean, what other movie has been this interesting that it has us doing what Eric Holder said in the beginning of his term as Attorney General we should be doing, having these interesting and provocative conversations about race in this country that we haven't had in a long time. And, as I've said before, when I see and you see it in the movie, of course, the horrors of what slavery was. And to me, so many parts stood out. Like when they put the guys in the big cage mass, because they were rebellious in some way, and the way that it dehumanizes them. I mean, let alone the obvious parts where the guy gets ripped apart by dogs, wild dogs, etc., a slave for running away. And you think, how could we have done this? How could any human being be this unbelievably cruel to another human being? But as a society, we just accepted it in the South, like that it was perfectly acceptable. And of course you do this. And the more you treated people like animals, and then if they fought back, you're like, you see that? I knew they were violent savages in the first place, right? And then that goes to justify it. And for centuries on end, this went on. And the idea that white people in the South had a right, a privilege to do this to other people, it is grotesque. And then finally, at the end, to turn around and to have a stereotype that black people are violent, it's grating at me. The more I think about it week after week, it incenses me that after suffering the most brutal violence you could imagine, then they turn around and say, for example, if you're going to be a black politician, don't be too threatening. Mm-hmm. You know what was threatening? Was a goddamn Klan.